I never thought my marriage could turn into a battlefield. For 7 years, I believed my husband, Arjun, and I were partners in everything. We had a beautiful home, 2 kids, and a life that looked perfect from the outside. But inside, I grew restless. Routine had set in. The spark I once felt seemed to dim over the years. I craved excitement, freedom, and attention I thought Arjun wasn't giving me anymore. It started subtly, flirtatious texts, late-night coffee with a coworker, harmless dinners that became increasingly private. Eventually, I suggested we open our marriage, thinking I could have my cake and eat it too. I framed it as an experiment, a way to explore my desires without hurting him. I convinced myself I was being honest, that Arjun would understand. Arjun surprisingly agreed, or at least he didn't object. That was my first mistake. I assumed that his silence meant consent without consequence, that he was weak, passive, or perhaps too in love to act. That assumption would be my undoing. I met him, my exciting new partner, at a small hotel downtown. It felt like liberation at first, sneaking into his room, the thrill of doing something forbidden. I told myself I was empowered, confident, in control, but I wasn't. I was blind. Weeks later, Arjun confronted me. Not with anger, not with shouting, but with calm precision. He didn't yell, he didn't accuse, he didn't beg. He simply had evidence. Screenshots of my texts, bank statements showing suspicious charges, even photos I had carelessly left on my laptop. He had tracked everything without me realizing it. Every moment I thought I was clever, he had anticipated and countered. "You wanted freedom," he said quietly. "Now you're facing responsibility." I laughed at first, nervously, thinking he would forgive, that he would let me slide out of the mess I had created. But his eyes, sharp, steady, unflinching, told a different story. He had been the alpha all along, silently watching, planning, and preparing. The next week, I found myself in court. I thought it would be a simple custody hearing. I assumed he would be reasonable, that we would negotiate. But he didn't negotiate. He obliterated. He presented every detail. My affairs, the financial manipulation, the times I had lied to him and to the court. Every word I had spoken in my own defense was countered with calm, irrefutable evidence. The judge didn't need drama. The judge saw facts, and the facts were all against me. My affairs, my lies, my reckless suggestion of an open marriage, all of it painted me as irresponsible, manipulative, and unfit to make critical decisions for our children. Arjun's calm strategy made me look foolish, impulsive, and entirely untrustworthy. By the end of the hearing, my life was unraveling. Custody of the children was largely granted to him. Financial support was strictly enforced. The home I had once walked through proudly was no longer mine. Friends and family who had been charmed by my adventurous spirit now questioned my judgment and loyalty. I was left alone in a way I had never imagined. Arjun didn't gloat, didn't celebrate. He simply reclaimed what was rightfully his: respect, trust, and stability. I had assumed I could manipulate the system, bend the rules, and satisfy my desires without consequence. I was wrong. The lesson was brutal and inescapable. Underestimating him, underestimating someone patient, calculating, and decisive, is fatal. I had thought of him as passive, accommodating, and forgiving. In truth, he was a force I never anticipated, a man who turned my recklessness into my own destruction. In the aftermath, I moved out. My social circle fractured, my career slightly affected by gossip. I lost my freedom, not just legally but socially. And every time I looked at the children I had fought to see, I remembered the mistake that had led me there. Opening a marriage without understanding the consequences, underestimating the strength of the man I thought I knew. I thought I was clever. I thought I could cheat, explore, and thrive. Instead, I discovered that some people play a long game, quietly, patiently, strategically. And when the moment is right, they strike. Arjun struck. And I have nothing left but the bitter lesson. Do not mistake patience for weakness, and never underestimate the alpha who has been watching all along.